Hey guys, welcome to another installment of Learn Data Science in 6 months, where you get to follow me on my journey to learn data science in 6 months. Will I be able to do it? You know what? I don't even know, but maybe you guys got some thoughts on that. I'm going pretty stead on, so I'm having fun with it, so that's what counts. Now, as always in my videos, I start off with a little TLDR of what's included in the video, so you know if you want to keep watching or not. And in this video, if you stick tuned, I actually have a great little example of how I use Notion, a tool to basically help me learn data science and help me remember what I learned and take notes and all that. So if you want to see a little bit into my workflow of how I use Notion, stick tuned till the end. But like I said, I'm going to give you a little rundown on what I learned this week, and we'll take it from there. Alright, so this week I did 2 chapters in my thinkstats book. The book is on exploratory analysis, and we use Python in order to learn stats. Now, as I mentioned before, even though it covers most of the stats you need from the beginning for exploratory analysis, it's kind of advanced, so you gotta take it slow still. I was able to do the chapters on percentiles and percentile mass functions, and we learned everything about percentiles before we got into those functions and graphing them, which is the cool part really. And then we moved on to chapter 3, which was about continuous discrete functions, which was really dope. I had seen those before, and is one of the main things I wanted to learn from this book, so I'm so happy it was included. And that was kind of it. I did the problems for those chapters, and to do the problems in those chapters, I'm going to show you a little bit later on, but we're using a IPython notebook, which is such a cool environment for learning because someone can set up a notebook for you with blobs of text that are missing or blobs of code, and you can fill them up, and you can have right there, you can have a place for your code, and then you can have that interactive Python on the side. So it ends up being really dope. I'll show you some images later of how I go about doing that. Another thing is you can always make that, you can also always transfer that notebook into Jupyter, which is so cool. I'm still trying to learn about it, but wow, like, actually I'm not sure I should talk about that in this video, so I'm going to save that for next time because I'm not sure I want to show you guys my workflow with that yet because it's not set in stone. But for now, I do use IPython notebooks over Jupyter notebooks, but we'll talk about that later. So yeah, so that was kind of a rundown. Again, if you learned everything you needed to know about what I learned this week, you're free to go. But if you want to continue, let me get deep into everything I learned. So in the thinkstats, like I said, we learned about percentile mass functions. Now, what is that? That's basically like a way to graph based on percentile rank. And so we learned the difference between percentile and percentile rank. Percentile rank basically means you're in the 90th percentile, which means that you're 90% better than everyone else. You did 90%. You're in the top like 10% basically. 90% of the people did worse than you. And then percentile really is just the opposite of that, actually. It's how you find out the number or the value, or let's say the test score that you got backwards, knowing what percentile you're in. So I said before that I was in the 90th percentile, so I did top 10%, or I did better than 90% of the people who took the exam. Now, what score did I get? Well, if you actually have the values, you can go backwards and you can figure out what percentile you got. So there's a difference between those two terms, and that's one of the things I learned. Then I learned all about graphing them and how, they're not really the best for visualizing a lot of data. They're only good for visualizing small amounts of data because once you start graphing a lot in those graphs, they just get really convoluted, especially when you're comparing two things. You don't know what's going on. So then that's why we moved on to chapter 3 and we learned all about continuous discrete functions. Now, these are like your really popular like step functions. So it's like, the graph goes up and then to the side, up to the side, up to the side. Now, those vertical steps are the numbers that appear a lot. So those would be the modes of your data, and the ones that are steep, like big steps like that, would actually be very little data, that very little values in your data that appeared, basically. Yeah, the frequency was really low. And so yeah, we learned how to compare functions using that, which makes it a lot easier to see because you can see the steps and you can see the steps of the other one, and you'll basically be able to tell, before or after the median, where the data sets like veered off are different and much better than the percentile ranks that we had found before. But we should know how to do both because they're both useful. Continuous discrete was definitely like more my like favorite. Like I liked it a lot more. So now let's get into my Notion workflow. I'll head on to my computer and I'll show you how I do that. Alright guys, so now I'm going to show you all about using Notion and how I use it to either code, take notes, or even just plan for the future. And I'm going to show you how all of that lives in my web page. Now, I know many of you guys have tried to learn data science before or have tried to learn another subject and have found it difficult to keep track of where you're going next, and that just brings up old patterns of procrastination and not really working towards your next thing, your next goal. Well, I find Notion to be the perfect method of keeping track of everything while also having everything you've done right there for you to look up if you need to review. So let me show you how I use Notion for learning data science in 6 months. So right now I have the page open in Notion, and the first thing I have is my mission statement. So my mission statement is, my mission is to learn Python with economics, to get my foot in the door with smart people at a food startup, then work privately on my own stuff on the side, and the moonshot is to work on greenhouse stuff for Mars. So now that's just my personal goal. You can put whatever you want, but seeing this every day actually like reminds me of why I'm doing so much work. When you have a mission like this, you're going for the long-term goal. And then immediately I have my programming calendar. In the calendar, I have what I'm going to do for the day. Usually I just do it daily, so I don't have anything for today, but if we go back to, I don't know, July 1st, which is Wednesday, we have Khan Academy stats, and then I have a little done button, so that's how I know I did it. And then let's go to another day. Let's go Monday, July 6th. I have thinkstats chapter 2 and Khan Academy stats. So, we're doing a lot of stat stuff like I'd mentioned. And then, I don't know, let's say July 8th. Alright, well, we have thinkstats chapter 3 and more stats. So, you get the point. I don't know what else to show here. I do have back in, let's say, July 27, I have Think Complexity, which is my next book. So I have that already set up, but I don't have the chapters laid out or anything. I'll lay that out when the time comes. Then I have a little place to jot down some notes. Here I got, use the toggle app to track coding hours. Right now I'm averaging 3 hours. Try to get to 4 hours. So, I think I should make a video on this and how I track my time, because not only am I, have this YouTube channel to kind of track my time and what I do every week, but I want to know how many hours it actually takes within 6 months to learn data science, to better help people understand the time commitment that they're getting into. Because 6 months, does that mean you're working 24 hours 24/7, or does that mean you're only working 4 hours a day? Now in my example right here, you can see that I'm only working 3 hours and I'm trying to get it to 4 hours daily. So it's not that much time, but it's focused work. And I have a little bit more of notes on, what I want to do with my life and a little example here of coding thing that I should remember. Then I have some quotes here. So you need to know more programming than the average mathematician and more math than the average programmer. So that's a little data science quote for you. Keep that there. Next, I have all my sources. So basically, this is my courses. And I have here, for example, Coursera, Udemy, books, Reddit. What's in the Reddit thing? So in the Reddit page, right? So this is a page within a page. In the Reddit page, I have a little note of all the Reddits I use for information. Now I should really make these links, so I should just click on them, but right now I have deep learning, TensorFlow, learn Python, statistics, machine learning, that kind of things. And then if I go back one, we can also go to books, which is what you guys are here for today, because this week I lived in this book section. And so here I have, so this is a database that links to another database. Now, Notion is all about relational databases, and if you don't know what that means, put it really simply, you can have a database and fill it up with things from another database, and depending on how you move things, it will all move together the right way. So really, in this example, this is just a database that I copied over. So it's a copy of a database, but whatever I do to this database also affects the other database. So they're not independent copies. They're just, almost a duplicate. And here I have all the books, and I have what site they're in. Oh, I'm sorry. This is actually messed up. If I go on the books, here we go. That's how it should be. In the books, a filter, basically, I only see the stuff from the database that's a book. So that's why I made a copy, so I can just have them be books and I don't have to see everything else. And here at the bottom, as you can see, I have thinkstats 2nd edition. It's a book, and I'm currently working on that. So let's go into that. So you can see how I take my notes. So here I have the site, which is just a book, description, empty, link, empty, must do, because it's a book that I had thought of before as a book that I should definitely do while I'm studying. And then I have the tags. And so here basically I have the almost like note-taking template that I made. When I make a new book, it automatically comes with this template, which is a really cool thing that Notion has. And it's basically 2 big sections. What is the book about? Then I have the sections on notes, and each little arrow you see opens up. I'll show you right now. And then I have on the bottom though, I have what you got out of the book. So that's kind of going to be like the summary of what I learned and what the book was actually useful for, so I can always know what I really got out of the book and which chapter I should open. So here I have chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. So I did chapter 3 and chapter 4 and not chapter 5. So if we go into chapter 3, probability mass functions, as I talked about, it was about probabilities. And here I have by section everything I learned in the books, my notes. And I also took little images and I put them in Notion, since Notion accepts almost any form of media. Put that there. Now, this is cool. Right here we have a section where I have Python code. So in this section, I put the code that I was learning and I typed it out for my notes. And it also allows me to easy copy paste into any IDE. But really, this is just a good way to separate the code from text. It just looks really nice and clean. You can set it to any language and it recognizes it. 3.3 visualizations. And and we have all this. I keep scrolling down. Oh, here's a beautiful example of a graph that actually shows what's going on. You can see in the beginning, on the left side of the graph, we have way more actual percentage than we have observed. So basically people expect their classes to be of a larger size, and we can see that towards the right when the observed percentage goes larger than the actual. So people think that the people in their class, the amount of people in their class is much larger than they actually is. And this is a cool way to show that. And that's like what we were learning about. And yeah, that's kind of it. And then I have the glossary, and then I can close all of that like this, scroll all the way up, and now it's gone. All the notes are gone. So now I have this clean page with just the chapters I've done, and that I find really simplifies going through my notes. Before I would have like, a booklet where I would flip through the pages of notes and it would just be a mess. With Notion, I have all of it here. And if we go backwards, we can go on the top, you can see where in the pages I am. So I'm in thinkstats 2E on the very top left, and then I can go back to all the courses, and then I can go back to teaching myself coding. So now I'm back at basically my home page, which is just amazing that I can just go so deep, but all the way back in just a couple simple clicks and have it all clean in the book section of sources. Next, I have more sources, but this is more just like notes on things I could look at. So I have, for example, data science sources. If I click on that, oh yeah, it's just a bunch of links on stuff I found interesting, but I don't want to look at that right now, so I'm out of that. Next, I have my classes. So I have the lesson plan overview in the beginning, and that's how I remember kind of like the map. That's the map made by another YouTuber that I'll link below. I forgot their name, but they do data science, and they have this great list of things you should learn, and kind of in order too. So that's kind of what I look at to create my class, like my class schedule, right? And so here I have it though, my class schedule in to-dos. Now, this is what I love. When you're learning a new topic and you just keep learning every day, you kind of forget how far you've come, and you're only really thinking about, what you have to do next. But in this layout, because I have them as a to-do list and I have the whole list, this isn't just a to-do list that I throw away daily, it's always here. So even when I come back a year from now, I'm going to see this checklist of everything complete, and now that's the idea that I'm going for. So here I can see that Think Python, which was a beginner Python book, is done. Math review from Khan Academy, like we had talked about, I had started from the beginning, also done. So that's great. Now I'm on thinking stats, so that's the next thing in my list, and I just can't wait to finish the whole list. Now it's not done, but I'm pretty sure that by the time of this, I finish the natural language processing book, I'll be firmly into data science territory. So let's see if we can get through all of this in 6 months. Now, I have a lot of cool ideas of what to work on in between things. Like, I have to think stats, and then I have an example of how I should go to this data camp class and just do a project there. And then I have small projects that I can do in data science that are on GitHub, so I link those. And I really like testing my knowledge on a project after I did it, so I was going to talk about that in the future, not right now, but that's just a little bit of incoming stuff for the channel. So next is my idea that I will do a little bit of a project, and then I'll move on to Intro to Statistical Learning book. So that's next. And then I have Think Complexity, which is the other next option I have. So that's basically all I have. I think if I scroll down, oh yeah, down here I have a list of coding ideas to do, just projects, and then at the bottom I have just links and links and links and links of things I thought interesting but haven't made it to be sorted yet. And it's also a great idea to just collect things you find interesting and leave them alone, see if you find them again, because if you don't, then were they really that interesting? It's a great way to save time reading over a lot of things. You just gather all the things you want to read and then see if you actually ever go through and read them, see how important they really are. But I try to keep this page as clean as possible for my learning. It is purely for learning data science, and I try to keep it orderly and scheduled, especially using this calendar as my to-do list. And it also serves as a reminder of how much knowledge or how much time I've actually spent into this project, and it's kind of cool. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully with a little bit of how I use IPython notebooks or Jupyter notebooks. We'll see. Alright, so basically that's it. I showed you guys my workflow through Notion. If you guys have any cool Notion templates that you'd like to share, please share them below. Or if you've never had a system for learning data science and you wanted to find a good system, I think Notion could be a great tool for you. It's been a great tool for me and many other people, and so I hope you enjoyed this content, and as always, I'll see you next week for the next iteration of learning data science in 6 months.